The clock read 9:12 a.m. The sunlight slanted lazily across my desk, catching the steam rising from my barely touched cup of coffee. I had taken a single sip when my phone buzzed. It was him. Not the kind of call that brings warmth or curiosity. This one carried weight, a subtle prelude to disaster. His name flashed on my screen, and I knew instantly that whatever awaited me would redefine everything I thought I understood about loyalty, work, and trust. I walked into his father's old office, a space of dark wood and manufactured authority, the kind of place that smelled faintly of varnish and ambition. But this time, it wasn't his father sitting behind the desk. It was him, my former colleague, my boss, now the heir to an empire I had helped build. He leaned back in the leather chair, posture relaxed, expression smug, like a king who had just claimed a throne he hadn't earned. "Happy birthday," he said, voice smooth, carrying a sneer hidden beneath a forced charm. "Here's your surprise. You're fired." I froze for only a heartbeat. Then I moved. I didn't ask why. I didn't plead. I didn't flinch. I reached for the folder he'd placed upside down on his desk, carefully, as though hoping I wouldn't notice the contents, and walked out. Not a word, not a tear, nothing but the faint echo of my shoes against the marble floor as I exited. 8 years. 8 years of loyalty, sweat, and sacrifice. I had built this company's division from a barely noticed corner into the department everyone coveted. I had stayed late, corrected mistakes others had made, covered for him when his father, caught him drunk at a client dinner. Back then, I had believed loyalty was an investment, a currency that paid dividends. Turns out, it was free money to spend on someone else's whim. When his father retired and passed the company keys into his hands, I convinced myself I could adapt, that I could rise alongside him. But it became immediately apparent that he didn't see me as a partner or a trusted advisor. He saw a problem, a complication he needed to erase. And what better day to execute such a ruthless act than my birthday? By the time I reached my car, the truth hit me. The folder wasn't termination papers. It was a contract. My role, my salary, my clients, everything reassigned to someone else. Someone who had been there less than a year. Someone he'd been sleeping with. The betrayal wasn't about incompetence. It was about convenience. Anger surged, but not the kind that burns out quickly. This was sharper, strategic, cold, precise. It was the kind of anger that plans its revenge before it even brews. I didn't drive home. Home was too close to the past, to the memories of nights spent solving problems that weren't mine, of loyalty repaid with betrayal. I drove to the harbor instead, to the office above the marina where my husband was waiting, absorbed in blueprints and expansion plans. He looked up when I walked in. "I got fired," I said, placing the folder on his desk without preamble. He leaned back, hands steepled, eyes narrowing, the faintest smile playing at the corners of his lips. "What do you need?" That was the thing about him. He didn't deal in emotion. He dealt in outcomes, and I needed an outcome. I explained everything, every detail, every slight, every moment of betrayal. He made a single phone call, calm, precise. By the time I left his office, the first domino had already begun to fall. The plan was meticulous. We started with the clients, my clients. The company's largest accounts trusted me, not the logo on the wall. Within 48 hours, I met with each one over coffee, telling them I was exploring new opportunities, that a new venture promised stability and attention to detail they deserved. My husband's firm was ready, prepared to welcome them seamlessly. All they had to do was sign. Next came the suppliers. The company relied on a network of contracts that were fragile, easily disrupted, and ripe for negotiation. My husband's team quietly secured renewal rights before anyone even noticed. By the time my former boss realized, it was too late. Then came the quiet kill shot. The commercial lease for their flagship location was up for renewal. The building owner, an old friend of my husband's, had been waiting for an excuse to replace them with a higher-paying tenant. We gave him that excuse. Suddenly, their lifeline was gone. By the fourth day, the world had shifted beneath my ex-boss's feet without him even knowing it. Then came the confrontation. His phone rang, and rang. 98 missed calls before I finally decided to step into the building unannounced. The lobby was chaos. Phones rang incessantly. Employees whispered in alarm. Clients stormed out, faces flushed with frustration. I walked past it all with calm purpose. He was in his office, pale, sweating, panic replacing the smugness he had worn like armor. "You can't do this," he said, voice shaking the second I closed the door behind me. I tilted my head. "Can't?" I echoed. "You took my job, my team, my work, on my birthday. I took your company." I slid the folder across his desk. Inside were the final contracts. Clients, suppliers, leases, all transferred, all finalized. Each page stripped the color from his face, each signature. A silent verdict. "How?" he whispered. How did you... You gave me the motive, I interrupted smoothly. I already had the means. By the end of the month, his company would be gone. The building would bear my husband's name, and the people who had built the department, my people, would be working for us. Better pay, better terms, and a future where loyalty meant something. That night, we stood on the balcony above the harbor, wine in hand. Below us, the lights shimmered across the water, steady, unbroken. "Happy birthday," he said, smiling, the words carrying a weight of victory, relief, and justice. This time, I smiled back, because the best gifts aren't wrapped in paper or ribbons. They are dismantled, piece by piece, until nothing remains for the person who thought they could take everything from you.